Parshas Bereshis, Genesis, the first chapter. In the first chapter, verse 27, Pasuk Chav Zayin, the Torah says, "Vayivra Elokim es Adam b'tzalmo," and God created man in His image. B'tzelem Elokim baro, so in the image of God He created him. Zochor u'nekeva bara osam, male and female He created them. So we have a number of questions that arise as a result of the phrasing of the verse and the substance of the verse. First, let's take this. Vayivra Elokim es Adam b'tzalmo, and God created man in His image. How exactly does that work? How does anybody exist in the image of God? We have a principle, which is that God has no form, He's incorporeal, He's without body. This is one of the Rambam's 13 principles of faith. Maimonides codified 13 principles on the basis of which the faith of Judaism is founded. And these are actually reconstructed into a poem, which many sing in shul, in the synagogue, or they say it in the morning. Some say it every morning. And one of the verses of that poem is, Ein lo demus haguf v'yeino guf. That's just one phrase, which is, He has no semblance of a body, and He is incorporeal. Eino guf, has no body. So how is it that man is created in the image of God? What could it possibly mean? Another question is, there are three clauses here in this verse. God created man in His image. In the image of God, He created him. Male and female, He created them. Let's skip the male and female part for now, other than simply to note that this is something which is not mentioned explicitly about the other animals, but is mentioned about man. One can deduce that this is a significant element of man's identity. But let's take the first two clauses. They seem to be redundant. The first one says, and God created man in His image. The second clause is, in the image of God He created him. Sounds like it's saying the exact same thing. So my Rabbi, Ahron Soloveichik, asked that question. We'll give his answer in a little bit later on. But let's talk about what the Torah can possibly be meaning when it talks about Tselem Elokim, what we call the image of God. What could that possibly mean? So there are various opinions about what it might mean. One opinion is that it refers to the Elokim. Sometimes we know refers to God, and sometimes we know it refers to other forces. The word Elim, means powers. Sometimes it refers to judges. We're going to talk about that in a minute as well. So there are those who say that it refers to Malachim, that it refers to angels, and that man is created in the image of the angel. Conceptually, that might be the case. As a practical matter, how we relate to it, it's a bit challenging because most of us, at least as far as I know, have never seen an angel. So what does that mean? The Radak, Rabbi David, says that the Tselem Elokim refers to the part within us, which is referred to as the nefesh. Sometimes it refers to neshama, which is the soul, meaning the incorporeal part of man. There are others. Rabbeinu B'chayeh also says that it refers to the seichel, which can be understood to be the intellect, as opposed to the body. The Sofer suggests that these two phrases, and this is partially in answer to Rabbi Soloveitchik's question about the apparent redundancy, is that refers to two aspects. One of them is the physical aspect, the guf, and the other is the neshama. B'tzalmo refers to the guf, refers to the body, and neshama refers to the soul. Rabbi Yosef b'chor Shor, which I understand is the same as what we sometimes refer to in learning Gemara as the Meor Linish. He says that the word Elokim, although it does connote God, but there's also a connotation of judging. Sometimes judges are referred to as Elohim in the Torah. And that might relate to man's capability to exercise judgment. And that is divine. That is similar to the Almighty. The Almighty has the ability to exercise judgment. And you can take that even further and extend it to the notion of bechira chavshis, of free will. So God creates man in his image, in God's image, meaning a being that has free will. And that's a novelty when it comes to creation, because most of creation is simply, we understand, cause and effect, stimulus and response. The world, even the organic world, other than man, we understand, is comprised of beings that respond to stimuli. And man has the ability to control himself. Man has the ability to exercise self-control and to exercise judgment and to make decisions that are based in part, has the capacity to make decisions based in part on consequences that will happen in the future. So he has the ability to reason and ability to control his basic nature for greater purposes, even to sacrifice. Rabbi Soloveichik says that the underlying question is based on a mistranslation. B'tzalmo, in his image, is using a pronoun, his, and he says it does not refer to God. In most translations, or at least most translations that I've seen, including the Art Scroll translation, it says God created man in his image, his with a capital H. That alludes to or denotes God. That would be rendered as God created man in God's image. And Rabbi Soloveichik says that that is a mistranslation. It should be God created man in man's image, in man's own image, and in the image of God. Now, this would be consistent with the understanding of the Ksav Sofer, who says B'tzalmo refers to man's physical body, and Tselem Elokim refers to man's soul, which is a inspiration or a product of the divine. Rabbi Soloveichik suggests, based on Gemara and Sanhedrin and other sources, that this refers to man's unique image and his image of God. One might even say that the image of God, the very essence of the image of God, is uniqueness. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. And one of the rabbinic readings of Echad is not simply the unity of God, but the uniqueness of God, the Yechidiyus of God. Rav Shimon Schwab extends this principle, and he says that many people feel correctly that there's really nobody like them, that they're unique, not necessarily as narcissists or megalomaniacs, but they are simply different from everybody else. The Gemara in Sanhedrin, in fact, says that every individual is profoundly unique, and unique in at least three ways. In their appearance, that's why we have photo ID cards, because our appearances, generally speaking, differ one from the other. In our voices, which is why we have voice recognition, which is how we can have voice recognition, and in their thoughts, b'deya, b'kol, b'mara, u'b'deya, in voice, in their appearance, and in their opinions, in the way they think. And every individual is unique. Rav Schwab observes that every individual actually shares this attribute of God, which is given to every individual by God, that he's unique in the sense that there never was anyone like him and there never will be. And that's because each of us is particularly suited to fulfill our own unique mission. But at its core, the concept is that every person is a unique individual with an element of the divine within that individual. We have a calling to a higher purpose, and we are created specifically for that higher purpose. We're created with a physical body and with physical drives and urges, and we're created with an ability to overcome those urges for a greater good. The Malbim states that when we pray to God, for example, what we're doing when we pray is that we are asking him to do something other than the ordinary course. If we leave things to the ordinary course, they just go on as they are. If we pray for something, the the message is we're asking God to do something other than the ordinary course. Otherwise, there would be no reason to pray. And he says, based on the general rule, the operating system, if you will, of this world, which is midah keneged midah, measure for measure, the way that an individual becomes successful when he entreats God to change his, as it were, nature, or not his essential nature, but the nature that he established, he established the laws of nature, is for an individual to overcome his own nature, and that is controlling our base urges and controlling our desire to profit by exploiting someone else unfairly, whether it's by stealing or by saying harmful words, etc., to control our anger. And this tselem Elokim, this ability, this divine image, if you will, our bechira chofshis, our unique attribute of being able to put it all together and to guide our lives for a greater purpose, is embedded within our nature. And if we do that, we can expect that God will overcome nature for our benefit to enable us to continue to do the right thing and to serve him. Have a good Shabbos.